Ron and Ted. Today we're here at Wings Ministry. We're here with the Executive Director, Ann Edenfield Sweet. Ann, could you tell us, what does Wings Ministry do?
Wings Ministry keeps people out of prison. And we do two things. We do parties in the prisons, we do parties in the community, and then we do our weekly Wings for Life program. And our whole goal is to keep people out of prison, to keep children out of prison, help returning citizens, and that's the new terminology I'm trying to get everybody to use, to call somebody when they come home from prison a returning citizen. So that's what we do, and we have a lot of fun. We party. I get to party all the time in my life, which is just absolutely wonderful.
Wow. So there's a lot going on, it sounds like. You know, but it strikes me that there's a lot of things in the world that you could be doing. You could be doing any number of things. Why do you do this work?
Well, I do Wings Ministry because this is part of my personal story. My first husband was an airline captain. I worked for Continental Airlines, and suddenly I got a phone call one day that changed my life forever. It was August the 5th, 1986. I was home with my 4 little boys, 7 to about 7 months old, and the phone rang and my husband had been arrested. Overnight, everything in my life changed. I did not know it, but I ended up with a $3.5 million IRS lien, and I was totally penniless. We had been a member of a church for 12 years in Albuquerque. Not one person called us from that church, not the pastor, not a Sunday school teacher, not anyone. And our neighbors that I thought had been good friends suddenly shunned me, and I was the total outcast. I realized that I needed to find a church home. I found a church home where the pastor actually welcomed me in. And after my husband had pled to a 15-year plea agreement and ended up going to La Tuna Federal Prison, there I was with my boys and got welcomed into this church. And when my youngest was 2 years old and finally off oxygen, and I didn't have to breastfeed him every hour and a half to keep him alive, I got hired as youth director in the church. And so here I was, youth director in a church, working with children, mentoring children with a husband in prison. We started the model of ministry that we use for Wings, and we started with 8 kids, and in about 5 years, we had over 250 youth and children in this program. It's such a relational, fun program. Well, 5 years later, my husband had called from prison one morning and said, "You're not going to believe this, I'm coming home from prison." He'd only been in prison 6 years with a 15-year sentence. And so I ran in to tell the staff, "My husband's coming home from prison." And the new senior pastor, in front of the whole staff, said, "Well, then I can no longer be your pastor." And I was quite surprised. I thought it was a joke, and I realized that he really meant that. So now that I've been 2 churches that really didn't want me. Well, in the meantime, I had heard about the Angel Tree program, a program with Prison Fellowship, where they give a gift to children. Well, I decided that my boys, I was living on $800 a month, big whopping $800 a month, but I survived, and part of what we teach at Wings for Life is how to survive on $800 a month. But anyway, I had survived, the boys had survived. I did not need a gift from somebody in the church. What I needed was the gift of love and acceptance. And so I went to Prison Fellowship and I said, "I've got an idea. Let's do this party where we build relationship with people, where people know we're real. Instead of talking about God's love, they experience it." So anyway, I went to them 17 years ago, got a small grant, $3,000, and that was the start of Wings Ministry. It was going to be Angel Tree, Angel Wings. And I always say our volunteers and the ministry side of what we do, we have to reach out and embrace and protect and comfort, because we've got people that are very wounded, that are very, very hurt, and very needy. And the place where I know the biggest change can happen and the biggest support can come is out of a faith community. Now, here in Albuquerque, we now work with over 200 churches, at least 200 churches, I quit counting, at least 20 different denominations. And our goal is to fill the pews of all the churches in Albuquerque and every city and every state and every place around the world where we go. In fact, I've been all over Russia, I've been all over India. We're probably going to go to Scotland this year, and of course I've got people all over Pakistan and India and Africa inviting us to go. So it's just a matter of time. But there is such a need, because families of prisoners, it's a huge number of people. We have 1 in 30 Americans in prison, jail, or probation and parole. 1 in 30. So if you don't know any, they're not telling you. You do know some folks, but they're not telling you. And we also know that 7 out of 10 children of prisoners go to prison. So if we don't help these children of prisoners, they are going to be our next right down the line of following that family pattern. And so we try to change that. So in the process of all of this, I had written a book. It's called Family Arrested, How to Survive the Incarceration of a Loved One. How does somebody do it? If you got a call today, what would you do? So I started then, about 5 years ago, I quit with a publishing company. I had to work for the publisher to get my book out. No one wanted to publish a book for families of prisoners. But after the book came out, I started the second program that now the United Way funds. It's called Wings for Life, where we literally want to give people wings to fly for the rest of their life. And we're going to teach them the life skills that they're going to need. We teach them manners. We teach them those life skills, how to get a job, how to interact with their family, how do you strengthen family communication, how do you stretch a dollar, how do you live on $800 a month, and how do you deal with the legal system in a positive, productive way. Our goal is to help people become returning citizens, keep their children, their families, their spouses out of prison. So that is why I do it. I'm uniquely qualified to do this, and there is no program in America like this. Although the Wings for Life handbook is now complete, and I will be sharing it. In fact, Prison Fellowship has now picked it up to share with over 7,000 churches. And our Wings for Life program is where we share our faith, we don't preach our faith. And that's what qualifies us to work with the United Way, because that's where we're going to teach everything that we know in the best way that we know to empower people in the best way that we know. And so that's why I do Wings, and that's what Wings for Life is all about.
Wow.
Great story.
That is a great story.
Thank you.
I have this feeling if I drag Ted to another 50 of these agency visits, he will need this program. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Peace.
Peace.